Things change throughout the gardening year, and inevitably we end up with maybe less color or less blooming items in the garden than we want. If we lived in a perfect world, our ideal gardens would have blooms consistently, and maybe we've even planned for that, and we have things that are supposed to be blooming in a certain time period, but either they're going through some sort of a lull, or maybe they got attacked by bugs, or some sort of weather pattern has changed their blooming schedule, and then we're left with these holes in our gardens. Maybe we're all green, maybe we're all brown. So today we're jumping into the rock garden, which is in dire need of a refresh because it's been some time since I've added color into this space. Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B and I am in southeastern North Carolina. If I pull you back quite far from the rock garden, you can see that there's not a lot of color behind me. I have a lot of things that are green, but I'm lacking blooms and I'm lacking interest in this space right now. This was an area that I had worked on a lot back in the end of March, early April, as I was getting ready for my daughter's senior prom, and I knew photos were going to be taken in this space. So I tried really hard to get colors and blooms and fresh flowers out here even that early in the year. But that means now in August, I am lacking color, as certainly the things that I put in here in the spring are no longer really thriving or available in the summer. So let me get you close up so you can see everything that I do have and the new goodies that I'm going to talk you through that we're going to plant in this area. So firstly, starting from this side, and we're going to work our way down to that fence line over there. There's no color in this space at all. So I do have some sedums in here. I do have a nandina, that's an evergreen bush that gets seasonal color more in the fall, actually, where we start seeing some red and color and leaf color change. But that's it. My wisteria is actually looking sad and wimpy right now, and that is only a spring bloomer. So we had the beautiful purple flowers on that like way early on in April, but here we are with wisteria on both sides of the rock garden and we have nothing to show for them. No color at all besides the green. As we get a little bit closer, this is the cordyline that I had overwintered actually in my ground last year as a test. Clearly it worked. Cordyline's here. We do have some of the magenta like in the stems and stuff, but certainly these leaves are not nearly as vibrant as I have even in my potted ones. So that's a little bit disappointing at this stage. My echinacea is lulling right now, so I have some clipping back that I need to do there. We'll see if I get another flush of flowers on it. So the only real color that we can see as we're looking this direction is the Sunshine Ligustrum shrub and then the Rudbeckia black-eyed Susans. That shrub is one of the things we've talked about before, about having anchors in your garden or things that are going to give you lots of color throughout the different seasons. Evergreens are fabulous choices for something like this. So this guy needs a haircut. I've been saying he looks a lot like a Muppet or something from Fraggle Rock when he blows in the breeze. So we're going to give him a trim too. And then my ladyhead planter, who's one of my favorite things, and I always show her and talk about her. Her arrangement is just kaput. Now we had begonias in here with this lemon coral sedum and also the polka dot plant. Well, we still have some polka dot plant left, but it got kind of tall and it's like leaning over to the side. But the begonias that were in here, I had those nasty black slugs that are super big. Yeah, so I found them all throughout my ladyhead planter. So she needs some fresh color inside of her. And then over here where I should have August color, I have my blanket flowers. Well, we just had a recent storm. We had lots of wind, lots of rain, and the blanket flowers completely flopped over to the front here. And I had to actually lift them all up, even temporarily with the plant stand here, because we had to be able to mow our lawn, and these guys were taking up all the space. So the blanket flowers need some trimming as well. And kind of this area right here, this is it. This is it for color for the entire space. These begonias have still been doing just fine inside their pot. And then I have the Sunny Border Blue Speedwell and my volunteer pink crepe myrtle back there. I really don't want it to stay there, but temporarily I'm keeping it because I don't want to pull that out in the summer and disturb a whole bunch of things. Besides lacking color, I also feel like I'm lacking some of my structure. Like the cascading rock sedum is literally hiding rocks now. And if you know me, you know that my rocks are some of my favorite things. So I go to great lengths to get rocks from different places, mainly friends and family's properties up in the north, cart them back home because I don't have rocks here in coastal North Carolina. I certainly don't want them to be hidden like that. And then lastly, this is the end of the garden where we're backing up to the fence line here. Things are okay over here. The hostas, they are in as much shade as I can possibly give them in my yard. They do have some scorching on some of the petals, but I can clip off the ones that are scorched if I want, just for a cleaner look. So my idea here for today is to get us going into the main rock garden space that doesn't look nearly as good as it did even in very, very, very early spring. And let's freshen this baby up. Let me show you the new things I picked up for it. I am not typically a person who will go to the garden center and get a pre-arranged like container refill, like bucket pot. I usually don't do that because I pick my own things and put them together. But as you know, this time of year in the garden center is not nearly as plentiful as our spring times and that sort of thing. Especially here where I am in the south, it has been just brutally hot. And even though we've seen a temperature dip recently, it's not enough to make the garden centers get full of all their previous glory. So when I was looking for some color in here, I was lucky enough to have a gift card to buy something with. I picked this pot arrangement because of the stunning color, and the magenta and hot pink is already something that I love. And I wanted to sit right here so you can see this cordyline compared to the cordyline I have in the ground over there. And in fact, I think I'll walk you over to another pot I have where I have cordyline in it that I've been overwintering for like 5 years indoors, and I keep putting it back out. That even looks better than the one in the ground. So I'm not exactly sure what the story is with it, but this pot has the cordyline that I do love. Even more than that though, it has this coleus that I love. Now the coleus name here is something, it's super long. I cannot possibly say it. But this pot right here is supposed to be part sun. So what I'm thinking I might do is tuck it into the rock garden a little bit. So for the whole afternoon, as the sun goes this direction, it will not be getting direct sun on it at all. Cordyline, coleus, dichondra. Now this dichondra is really the only thing in here that looks pretty wimpy. It needs a good watering, I think, but other than that, hopefully it comes back beautifully. This is a draper that tons and tons of people pick as their drapers. And I've often thought about the idea of putting it in my waterfall and have it be able to drape down the sides of it. I don't know if it would work well in that space that's out in the sun all day and gets the brutal heat, but I do think about that a lot. And then the kind of almost little added bonus in here is the petunias, and the only reason why I even think that that's okay to enhance this pot is because of the color. Besides that, as you know, petunias don't do well in my garden, and by the end of the season, they're all sad and dried out and wonky. See them right here? Yep, I can still see that pink color from here. Oh, especially if I put it in front of the yellow. Okay, I'm gonna think about that. Flipping back the Sunshine Ligustrum. Now the reason why I'm using this instead of like an electric hedge trimmer is because I don't want it to have a rounded, sculpted, perfect look. I like it kind of messy and wild. I just need it to be a little bit shorter. As I'm here cutting the ligustrum bush, I have pieces of wisteria that are now creeping in and around. So I also want to be able to clip some of those back because at this point, I don't need any more of that. In the past, one of the things I had going for me that gave me some summer color was the salsa red sombrero coneflowers, but this year they've just been dying. We got we're dealing with fungal disease because honestly it's been hot and humid, and again, even though we may have had a slight dip in temperatures now, the damage was already done. So my coneflowers didn't last me. So I have that color that's lacking, and like I said, we got to dive into this ladyhead planter. So let me grab some tools to do that because I know exactly what I want to put in there. So one of the things I want to do is add some of that cascading rock sedum so she can have a little drape over the front here. I've had creeping Jenny as a drape over the front before, sometimes just the lemon coral sedum. We have roots in all different spots I can see over here, so we're just going to kind of do our best to get some roots touching the soil. And once it takes, it's going to be like no problem at all to get this to start growing. And then the main color in her is going to be one of my new favorites that I talk about all the time and just made a video all about why it's one of my new favorite plants. Let me get it. So I've been talking about the coleus lately, and not only is it a stunning plant for the different color and all the varieties that you can get, it also roots beautifully. So here's what I'm going to do. This tall piece of coleus that's up here going into the cordyline, if we snip that off, and now I'm going to take off the bottom sets of leaves. I can pinch them off with my fingers and basically leave like a wound, if you will, like an open area, if you will. Remove the leaves from both sides, and you could do it a little bit higher up too if you want. As long as that part gets put under the soil, that's where the new roots are going to come out of. So if I just take my coleus cutting, again, with some open leaf nodes, and put it into my ladyhead planter, it's going to begin rooting inside of here. And since this is part sun, and technically right now she's sitting in full sun, I'm going to consider putting her back a little further as well. Or I'm going to just see how the coleus starts doing over here and see how much sun will it tolerate, because coleus now these days is also bred to be sun tolerant. So let me go grab some more of that. And then finally, I took some cuttings off of the begonias that I said were doing well in their pot just a ways over there. So we just took some cuttings of that, and begonia is another plant that I have a lot of success rooting cuttings from. So I figured let me take some stem cuttings of that. I'm going to group this baby toward the back. Hopefully I got rid of all of the nasty slugs that were affecting this pot previously. Right here is another plant that can benefit from some clipping back. So this is the pink twister lanai verbena. This one is a sort of a trailing one. It blooms on and off throughout the year, even throughout the winter here. And the deal is you just want to clip off some of the things that are turning to seed. Like if the seed heads turn brown like this, then these are their seeds. You want to clip all the brown off to keep it flowering and thriving. I sort of bounce around between different flower beds. So I did do a little bit of work here, a little bit of work there. You can't do everything all at once, and sometimes I feel like I'm focused a little bit better if I tackle an entire flower bed or area at a time, instead of saying like, I'm gonna go weed my whole yard today or whatever, because chances are I will not actually be successful weeding my whole yard in one day. I picked up this second ready-made container today because, again, there were not like a ton of things to choose from at the garden center right now, but this was also going to provide me what I wanted. This is a full sun plant arrangement. All of these things will be treated as annuals. I do have the option, of course, of overwintering the entire arrangement in the greenhouse if I so desire. But as a full sun pot arrangement with coleus that is full sun, that was a thrill because, again, I'm loving my coleus, and this is yet a different variety of all the ones that I've shown. So the foliage size on this is actually smaller, and it's more of a draping style plant, as you can see. So instead of getting super tall, it's actually going to go over the edges of the pot. Let me just see if it has the name of the type on here. This is like not the most, again, the words are so long, like I've never heard of such things. So I don't even know if it's worth sharing because it's nothing you would ever remember. So I have the coleus, I have the calabrachoa, and that's happening on this side here in orange, and then I have like a reddish on this side. This delicate orange Crosandra is the plant that's on this side of the arrangement. And then the middle should be like a papyrus tut, like one of the tut plants. Again, there is zero information on this pot about what kind of plant this actually is, what variety it is. But obviously this is what's adding our height, it's what's adding our interest. So I felt like the whole combination was actually quite cool and had a lot of things in it that I want. And I have a bare spot where it needs to go. So we are about to set that up and then start looking around again. This aqua pot that I have here is from Walmart, and it is the same kind of pot, just smaller size as this one. These are now on clearance at Walmart, and so I picked it up because I knew I had a collection of aqua pots already. So what I am going to do is actually take this arrangement out of here. It's not going to be able to go right into the container automatically because the pot is actually a smidge too big. I'm hoping it can come out as one big piece. Well, it can, and boy, it's pretty root bound. Let's see if I can squish it in. Well, I don't even have to squish it. This is actually the right size. It was just the actual pot itself was making the arrangement too big. Let's see. So I also have this pot of caladiums. So what I'm gonna do is just take the pot that the caladium is in and kind of mix it up into the creeping moss phlox here. This creeping moss phlox is a stunner in like March and April time frame. The flowers are everywhere and it looks fabulous. But this time of year, you're lucky just to have the cool green foliage of the leaves, and that's about it. Yes, I'm hiding the plastic pot that the caladiums are in, but the dual purpose of that is so that the pot doesn't dry out quite as quickly. If I can keep the soil out of the sun, have the leaves to keep some moisture in here of the phlox, hopefully that will do the trick, and I don't see why it wouldn't. Also, when my mulch gets looking like this is just like grass clippings and stuff. You mow the lawn enough and the clippings come in here and turn brown, but instead of adding in new layers of mulch, you can kind of freshen it up by essentially turning it over. Let's take a peek at where we are. So the lemon coral sedum that was in the ground here, actually now I see how vibrant it looks. Just even putting this pot here to give it a little bit more attention in this area. So this pot looks good with some additional pops of color. If my yellow hibiscus will actually bloom again, then that would be really nice too. And that would add some beautiful pops of color. And of course, the ligustrum looks better even with the minor haircut that he got right now. And the cordyline and that stunning coleus. Yeah. The caladiums offer another pop of pink. So you can see how we're doing now with the pink kind of floating around everywhere. And I love that because all these things are saturated. So really the only other thing that I have to do, and I don't think I'm going to get to it today, is to kind of do some work trimming back my blanket flowers. But overall, I think it's a vast improvement just by buying a couple of pot arrangements. But more than that, taking things like the sedums and the begonias right from my yard and using them here, getting pots on clearance. Even if you're not sure if you're going to use them or when you're going to use them, it comes in handy to keep your collection fresh. So again, I feel like a little bit of money maybe can go a long way. And then otherwise it's just the elbow grease. It's putting in the time. And the reason why I can put in the time right now is because, again, of that temperature drop. Makes it so much more comfortable to actually do the work, even if it's a 5-degree drop. Oh my gosh, it feels like a lot. Well, I hope you enjoyed it and found some sort of inspiration. Maybe there's new plants that I have in here. Maybe it's that coleus that's hot pink that you want to look for. This is exactly why I watch other people's like garden tours and garden work and everything, because I think, ooh, how are they pairing it? How are they doing it? How much work does it take to get whatever they have and that sort of thing. So hopefully you found the same thing here. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please follow me on social media. And until next time, you guys, happy planting.